said Lancaster. "Not a moment too soon for my liking. Let Berkeley have him." The Earl folded the page and stowed it in a drawer of his table. "And all the problems that come with being both host and jailer." He rose from his chair and began pacing to and fro in front of the hearth. "Comfortable captivity," he snorted. "He's comfortable, but I'm the one who feels like a captive." "But at least, sir, you're free to come." Sir Guy ventured to offer reassurance, but Lancaster cut him off. "Free to come and go as I please? Spare me the platitude, Bickerstaff. I daren't leave here lest some band of plotters steal him away in my absence." "But isn't it my job to prevent that?" "Your job, but my responsibility. God's bodkin, man, who do you think they'd throw in the Tower if their precious prisoner be stolen away? And what am I to do if a parliament is summoned? Stay here and lose my voice in matters of state, or attend and risk a lot more than losing my voice?" His rant apparently exhausted, the Earl returned to his seat behind the writing table. "Let Berkeley have him, I say. I'd rather live without the constant worry of who's hatching the next plot or what new wind's going to blow from Mortimer's arse. Berkeley should be immune from that at least, or maybe accustomed to it." Lancaster allowed himself a chuckle at the idea, given that he's Mortimer's son-in-law. Guy kept his expression neutral and his thoughts to himself. "Looks like you aren't so lucky, Bickerstaff. Tomorrow's Friday. God knows when they'll arrive, so you don't have much time to get your men organized. Let's get to it, then. I'll inform our guest." The Earl waved his hand in dismissal, Guy's cue to leave. Once outdoors and headed across the open lawn toward the old Norman keep where he and his men lodged, Sir Guy's frustration got the better of him. "God's teeth!" he exclaimed to no one in particular. "Why me? What dastardly sin did I commit that's landed me in this purgatory on earth? Did I covet this knighthood so much that the moment I received it I'm given the worst job in all of England?" No sooner had the Queen lifted the sword from his shoulder and said, "Rise, Sir Guy," than she'd added, "Now, the first service I require from you is that you assemble a cadre of men-at-arms and proceed with all due haste to join the Earl of Lancaster and put yourself and your men at his disposal. The Earl is even now making his way to Neath in Wales." The only reply available to Sir Guy was a bow and a simple, "Yes, Your Grace." In the normal course of things, a newly minted knight didn't question the wishes of he or she who just elevated his rank in society. God knew that was the only ordinary thing about this whole situation. That it was the Queen who'd knighted him wasn't the first bizarre turn in this particular drama. That it was the Queen who'd invaded her own kingdom was what had started it all. It had been, over 2.5 centuries since the last invasion, when William of Normandy put paid to the last Anglo-Saxon king and took the throne and the kingdom for himself. But a queen invading her own kingdom not to oust an occupier, but in opposition to her own husband, that was passing strange indeed. Nevertheless, London quickly rose up in support of Isabella. They'd had their fill of the dispensers, the king's current favourites and the objects of Isabella's fury. The dispensers were widely hated because of their theft of lands and extortion of merchants and nobles alike, general corruption, theft from the treasury, and even, in the case of Hugh the Younger, piracy in the English Channel, none of which Edward made any effort to curtail. The Earl of Lancaster also threw his support to the Queen the moment her forces landed on English soil. Guy considered himself an upright and righteous man. Reverence for his God and loyalty to his king, in that order, formed the core of his beliefs and guided his every action. So the extraordinary turn of events was more than a little unsettling, but that was nothing compared to what happened once he caught up with Lancaster at Llaneltid on the banks of the River Neath. He was brought straight to the Earl, who was poring over some sort of diagram with 2 other men. Guy cleared his throat, making his presence known, and the Earl looked up. "Sir Guy Bickerstaff, my lord, here at the behest of the Queen with my men-at-arms." To the other 2, the Earl said, "That'll be all for now. Just make sure your men are ready in the morning." Then he turned his attention to Guy and surveyed him from head to toe. "Bickerstaff, you say?" "Aye, my lord." "How many men-at-arms?" 20, my lord." "Good, and just in time." The Earl snapped his fingers, and the last 2 men in the tent, presumably servants, scurried out, leaving Guy and Lancaster alone. "Sit," said the Earl, pointing to a stool beside the small camp table. It was more an order than an invitation. He took the only chair for himself. "Do you know why you're here?" "All I know is that I'm to put myself and my men at your disposal, sir." "Very well. On the morrow we take the king into custody. My information